Dr. Laura Ocasio woke up early in Caracas, Venezuela. It was 5 in the morning, and her apartment had no electricity. She often saw this problem. As she went to a large hospital in the city, she felt a sad truth. Venezuela has the biggest oil reserves in the world, yet the hospital often had no power. Lights did not work, and important machines were off. In August 2024, a 17-year-old boy needed urgent surgery. Without electricity, the doctors could not use safe, modern tools. Dr. Ocasio and her team had to operate in a hot, dark room. They put the boy at risk to save his life. This situation is common. Many people in Venezuela need help. Hospitals are broken, and most people live in poverty. At the same time, 7,500 miles away, a different story of oil wealth unfolded. Teodorin Nguema Obiang Mange, known as Teodorin, is the son of Africa's longest-serving leader in Equatorial Guinea. His country also has much oil. But Teodorin had many very expensive supercars, a large mansion in Paris, and a luxury yacht. French investigators found that he bought these things with public money stolen from his country. In 2017, a court in Paris found him guilty. They said he stole over 150 million euros. While Teodorin spent fortunes, people in Equatorial Guinea were poor. More than half the people lived in poverty. Hospitals and schools there often lacked what they needed. This is the resource curse in action. It is a strange situation where a country's greatest natural gift, like oil, brings sadness and trouble. Instead of making people prosperous, this wealth often makes them poorer. This book will explore why this happens. It will ask a central question. Why does a country's best natural treasure often become its most difficult problem? We will look at how oil can lead to poverty, corruption, and conflict. 2. The big problem. Oil wealth sounds like a dream, but for many countries it becomes a nightmare. This is because oil creates 4 main problems that can make a country poor, not rich. The first problem is called Dutch disease. Imagine a small town where people make different things like food and shoes. Then someone finds a lot of gold. Suddenly, everyone wants to dig for gold. They leave their old jobs because gold pays more. Also, because there is so much gold money, the town's money becomes very strong. This means it is expensive for other towns to buy their food and shoes. But it is cheap for the townspeople to buy food and shoes from other towns. Soon, nobody makes food or shoes in the town anymore. The whole town only relies on gold. When oil brings a lot of money into a country, the same thing happens. Other businesses, like farming or making goods, suffer. Their products become too expensive to sell to other countries. This makes the country depend only on oil. The second problem is the rentier state. Usually, governments get money from taxes that people and businesses pay. This means governments must listen to their people and use tax money well. If they do not, people might not pay taxes or vote for new leaders. But when a government gets rich from oil sales, it does not need taxes from its people. It gets money from the oil. This means the government does not have to be as open or accountable to its citizens. Leaders can use oil money to give benefits or jobs to people buying their support instead of earning it through good governance. This can make a country less democratic. The third problem is huge corruption. We can call this the honeypot effect. Oil money often comes from a few big oil fields and goes straight into government hands. This makes it very easy for a few people to steal large amounts of money. It's like a big pot of honey that everyone wants to take from. Unlike taxes, which come from many small payments, oil money is concentrated. This makes it a big target for bad people. Studies show that countries with a lot of oil often have a lot of corruption. Leaders and their friends can steal billions of dollars. The fourth problem is volatility curse. The price of oil changes all the time. Sometimes it is very high and countries earn a lot. Other times it falls very low and they earn almost nothing. These big ups and downs make it very hard for a country to plan for its future. When prices are high, governments spend a lot of money. But when prices crash, they face big problems. They might not have money for schools, hospitals, or roads. This constant change creates an unstable economy, making it difficult to build a strong future. These four problems often work together. They turn a country's biggest natural gift into a serious curse, leading to poverty, weak governments, and much stealing. 3. A rich country gets poor. Venezuela was once a rich country. In the 1970s, it was one of the wealthiest democracies in Latin America, with a good economy and a strong middle class. This wealth came from its massive oil reserves. However, bad decisions turned this blessing into a curse. In 1998, Hugo Chavez became president. He used oil money for many social programs. But he also started to damage the country's most important company, PDVSA, the state oil company. In 2003, after some political trouble, he fired over 18,000 skilled workers from PDVSA. These were the engineers and experts who knew how to extract and process oil. Later, under President Nicolas Maduro, more experienced managers were forced to leave their jobs. People loyal to the government, often without any oil industry knowledge, were put in charge. This focus on political loyalty over skill had terrible results. Venezuela's oil production, which was over 3 million barrels each day in the 1990s, crashed. By 2021, it was producing only about 527,000 barrels per day. This was a huge drop, one of the biggest in history for an oil-rich country not at war. With less oil to sell, the country lost most of its income. Money became almost worthless very quickly. This extreme rise in prices called hyperinflation, reached almost 10,000% in 2019. The country's economy shrank dramatically, and many could not buy basic food. The human suffering was immense. Over 7.8 million Venezuelans have fled their homes since 2014, seeking safety and food in other countries. Those who stayed faced a collapsed system. Hospitals often had no electricity, clean water, or medicine. Doctors had to make difficult choices, sometimes operating without proper tools or air conditioning. 70% of the population lacked regular access. Venezuela, with the world's largest oil reserves, sadly became poor, showing how a rich country can fall into deep crisis. 4. Stolen money. Nigeria is Africa's largest oil producer. Since the 1970s, it has earned billions from oil exports. However, 70% of Nigerians live in poverty, and unemployment is high. The Niger Delta, where oil comes from, suffers from environmental damage and conflict. Nigeria's story highlights how systemic corruption affects an oil-rich nation. Oil theft in Nigeria is on a shocking scale. Around 200,000 barrels of oil are stolen daily. This cost the government about $105 billion between 2016 and 2017 alone. Experts describe this as industrial-scale theft, showing it is well-organized crime. The state oil company, Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, plays a role in this problem. In 2014, an audit found $16 billion in oil revenues unaccounted for, simply vanishing. Before this, the company also withheld $1.48 billion in payments. The Natural Resource Governance Institute concluded that NPP's oil sales suffer from high corruption risks and do not maximize national income. The Niger Delta produces about 90% of Nigeria's foreign exchange earnings. But it has become an environmental disaster area. Over 7,000 oil spills occurred there between 1970 and 2000. Recent studies found these spills doubled the risk of child mortality in the region. This corruption and environmental harm fuel violent conflict. Armed groups in the Niger Delta steal oil and damage pipelines. They use these actions for money and to fight the federal government. In 2016, militant attacks shut down major oil facilities, costing Nigeria 250,000 barrels daily from one terminal. Even the military, meant to protect oil, sometimes takes part in the theft. This cycle of stolen money, damage, and conflict makes life worse for many. 5. Oil and war. Oil wealth often brings not only riches but also conflict. This is a sad part of the resource curse. When a country has a lot of oil, different groups may fight to control this valuable resource. This makes wars more likely to start and much harder to end. Angola is a clear example. The country suffered a civil war for 27 years, from 1975 to 2002. The government used money from oil exports to buy weapons. At the same time, rebel groups controlled diamond mines, using those profits to fund their fight. This long and terrible war killed over 500,000 people and forced millions to leave their homes. Even after the fighting stopped, Angola's oil wealth continued to fuel corruption and create huge gaps between the rich and the poor. Despite being Africa's second-largest oil producer, many Angolans live in poverty, while the ruling elite captured much of the oil money. South Sudan shows a similar problem. This nation is the world's youngest, and its birth in 2011 quickly led to conflict over oil. Since then, different groups have fought for control of the country's oil wealth. A United Nations investigation found that $2.2 billion were stolen. This money was meant for important projects, like building roads, but these roads were never made. While South Sudan produces 150,000 barrels of oil every day, almost two-thirds of its 12 million people face hunger. Investigators said a predatory elite has taken over the country's wealth. These situations highlight the conflict resource curse. Oil wealth does not just cause problems, it actively pays for violence. Countries rich in oil are more likely to have civil wars, and these conflicts tend to last longer. This is because oil revenues give both sides, governments and rebels, the money to buy weapons and continue fighting, leading to prolonged suffering. 6. A country that did it right. Norway stands out as a country that managed its oil wealth correctly. It is a clear exception to the common resource curse. After finding oil in the North Sea in 1969, Norway thoughtfully used this new wealth. Today, the Norwegian government pension fund Global, often called the Oil Fund, is the world's largest national savings fund. It holds more than $1.9 trillion. This means there is over $340,000 for every Norwegian citizen, saved for the future. Norway's success was not by chance. The country already had strong democratic systems, low corruption, and a solid social agreement before oil was found. Key parts of its society, such as universal health care, good education, and welfare services, were already well built. These existing strengths helped Norway to manage its oil money wisely from the very start. Norway followed several important rules to handle its oil wealth. First, it created the Oil Fund in 1990. A simple but powerful rule was set. Only the real return from the fund, estimated at about 3% each year, can be spent in the national budget. The main capital of the fund must be saved for future generations. This idea is called an intergenerational compact, ensuring long-term benefit. Second, Norway made sure there was great transparency about its oil revenues. The Ministry of Finance reports to the Parliament on all important matters. It also publishes all advice from experts and shares quarterly reports online about the fund's performance, risks, and costs. An annual report listing all investments is made public. This openness helps create broad agreement on how to manage the oil money. Third, Norway kept strong democratic accountability throughout its oil boom. The fund follows strict ethical rules, for example, not investing in tobacco, weapons, or companies with poor environmental records. Citizens can discuss and influence how the oil wealth is used through their democratic processes. This shows that strengthening democratic institutions was key to avoiding the resource curse. Fourth, Norway used oil money to strengthen its existing economy, not to replace it. The government continued to tax its citizens and supported strong non-oil industries. Oil money added to, rather than took over, normal government funds. This kept the important fiscal contract between citizens and the government, which the resource curse often breaks. Because of these careful choices, Norway consistently ranks among the world's least corrupt countries. It has one of the most competitive economies, and its oil fund will benefit Norwegians for many generations. The fund owns about 1.5% of all publicly traded companies worldwide. Norway's story demonstrates that the resource curse is not unavoidable. However, its success highlights that a country needs a strong democracy, low corruption, and good institutions already in place before oil is discovered. This makes Norway's model difficult for many other oil-rich countries to copy. 7. Rich but not free. Oil can bring a different kind of problem to nations like Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, UAE. Here, oil wealth creates a good life and many things for people, but it also stops political freedom. These countries have used their oil money to build modern cities and provide many benefits to their citizens. They have good roads, healthcare, and education. Unlike some other oil-rich countries, Saudi Arabia and the UAE do not face the same severe poverty or high corruption. For example, the UAE ranks 23rd for low corruption, and Saudi Arabia ranks 38th. This shows they manage their money better than many. However, this wealth changes the way governments work. The leaders do not need to collect taxes from their people because they have so much oil money. Instead, they give generous support and many public sector jobs. This helps them gain the loyalty of citizens. Because people depend on the state for their needs, they have less reason or power to ask for more say in how the country is run. This means the governments can keep strong control without needing to be chosen by the people. Oil wealth reinforces the existing systems, making it hard for democratic ideas to grow. Another challenge is the large number of foreign workers. In the UAE, more than 80% of the people living there are from other countries. They do much of the everyday work. Because local citizens often get support from the government, they sometimes do not develop the wide range of skills needed for a modern economy that isn't just about oil. This situation is like a form of the Dutch disease, where oil money changes the workforce. Leaders in both countries are trying to prepare for a future without so much oil. Saudi Arabia has a plan called Vision 2030, aiming to make its economy diverse and strong, not just on oil. The UAE is also investing heavily in new industries and education. But moving away from oil is a big task. It means changing a whole way of life and government that has been in place for a long time. They want to keep their prosperity, but also build a new economy, which is a big test for their freedom and future growth. 8. The way forward. The journey through many oil-rich countries shows a clear truth. Oil wealth makes a country's existing strengths or weaknesses much stronger. If a country has good rules and honest leaders, oil can be a blessing. If it has weak systems and corrupt leaders, oil can become a curse. The problems we have seen are not just numbers in a book. They affect real people. Doctors working without electricity, children drinking bad water, and families leaving their homes because of high prices and fighting. The suffering comes from how people manage the oil, not from the oil itself. Money from oil should build hospitals, schools, and give people chances for a better life. But often it feeds corruption, makes conflicts worse, and causes whole systems to break down. But there are ways forward. As the example of Norway shows, open rules, responsible leaders, and planning for the future can change oil wealth from a curse into a gift. The main idea is that oil money must help the country's normal economy and government, not replace it. Governments still need to collect taxes and keep other parts of the economy strong. They need to earn trust from their people through good work, not just by having oil money. Big international oil companies also have a role. When they work with governments that are known to be corrupt, they must think about their actions. Do they have a duty to help create clear systems for handling money? And what about people in richer countries? Every time someone buys gasoline or invests in an oil company, they are part of this big system. The money moves around the world and affects real people in oil-producing nations. Groups like the Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, EITI, are trying to help. They ask oil companies to show how much money they pay, and governments to show how much they receive. This is a good start, but more needs to be done. For example, some suggest that oil money should be kept in clear international accounts. The sad part of the resource curse is that human potential is lost. Countries with oil should be places of success. Instead, too many become stories of corruption and trouble. Oil is not free money. It is wealth borrowed from the ground and for future generations. Countries like Norway understand this. They turn their oil into lasting success. Others, like Venezuela, learn that the Earth's gift can cause great problems. The choice is with people, not with the oil. What do you think is the single most important step for an oil-rich country to avoid the resource curse? Please share your thoughts.
Hey there! Just a second before you go. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like, write your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, and it really, really helps to create even better English videos for you. Your support means the world. Thank you.